there, it's Ethan. We're at Mount Baldy, where we're doing our research project, and it's a great example of mass movements and hill slope geomorphology. So we've got this massive slide path that's been developing over many years, and down in the main runout zone, there's evidence of multiple timescales of different geomorphic events. This whole kind of bench has been created thousands of years ago from large buildings that were just pushing, kind of fire hosing alluvium down off of these higher elevations and filling up a lot of this Bridger Basin on the Beasley Creek side of the range. And then you get more annual avalanches as well as landslides that are going to be bringing down smaller amounts, and those are kind of stacking up in the middle of this major path. And those are changing year to year, adding and subtracting with snowmelt and runoff and just a weakening of the landscape. There's also evidence that regularly there's been avalanches here. That's kind of our main focus for the project as well. There's these T-slopes or T-posts that are put up for a fence, and they have been slowly kind of pushed over to about a 45-degree with the slope from those avalanches. They've been all pushed downhill. The evidence from those T-posts being pushed down, we've looked at historic Google imagery and found about 10 years ago in 2014, there was a lot of trees that used to fill this kind of lower basin, and they've since been flattened from an avalanche, and there's signs that there's regular small avalanches and historic ones that come every so often. So of the three variables that influence this geomorphic process, I'm focusing on changes in gradient and presence of water. Much of the water is snow, avalanches, things like that are breaking off in large segments. There is also runnels and things like that would form in the spring as the snow melts. It's a very classic kind of cavity for that water to run through after it melts, just down the main center of the slide path. And then the changes in gradient are really evident with a much steeper gradient up top into a more concave ending of the slope, and the way that it kind of fans out amongst that as well. So with the changes in gradient and slope for our slide path back over here, we can see that it's a very, very large slide path with around 2,000 feet of total elevation change. And the way that it starts steep and gets gradually less steep has a lot to do with how the sediment that's been transported kind of disperses itself, and with how much momentum it picks up, it spreads out in this lower kind of tongue that's formed in this alluvium fan. The way that it builds that energy too, starting from that top where there's rock outcroppings and things like that, also increases the amount of power it has coming down to clear trees and widen this landscape and shape it as a whole.